But yeah, like I said, I'm just, I need to make, this book suggests that I make a history of, excuse me, I've got to try to get this is going to drive me crazy. I've got black all over the book here. But this book talks about, making a medical history, which I think is a good idea. Oh, goodness, is coming off. Thank you for that. About making a medical history so you can take it in to show the doctors and stuff. Oh, shit, this is actually peeling the book, though. I don't like that. Yeah, I got to stop that, but, it talks about making a medical history so you can take it in and show the doctors. And, that way they know everything you've had your whole entire life. And I think that's a real good idea. I know the difficulty swallowing started happening when I lived in Houston about 5-6 years ago. That's about the time that I started really having trouble being unable to swallow. And it's got progressively worse since then. And then all these other symptoms started hitting about 1 or 2 years ago. The arthritis hit about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, I mean, all this has just been hitting around the same time. But there was signs, like I said, when I was younger, like, I was like 12 years old, and there was one morning that I woke up to go to school, and my mom came in, and I couldn't move. I was frozen to the bed. My dad had to carry me out to the couch. And called my doctor, and he said, well, maybe it's just rheumatism, and, in a couple hours she should be all right. And sure enough, a couple hours I was able to move again. So it was kind of easily dismissed. Okay, well. But then there was once in Houston where I went to answer the door because there was a guy I was seeing down there went to get food, and when he got back, he knocked on the door so I could let him in. And I went to get out of the bed, and the minute I hit the floor, I fell to the floor. It was like I had no legs. And I had to literally crawl to the door. He had to help me in the shower later. And then I called my aunt because I still felt weird. And she said, well, maybe you better call, the hospital. And I did. And they said, yeah, come in. And I can't remember what they said. I think they said it was a seizure. It was my seizures. And, that's happened to me twice. And then when my older son was a baby, I put his bottles on. It was about 5, 6 in the morning. I would put his bottles on to boil because I realized he was out of milk after I gave him a bottle, and went in and sit down and started to, watch TV. And the next thing I know, I hear the smoke alarm going off, but I couldn't respond. And this went on for maybe a good half hour or 45 minutes. And finally, my neighbor's banging on the door because the smoke was coming out, and finally I was able to snap out of it. But, I mean, these were probably early symptoms that, and I went to the hospital. My doctor said, yeah, come in. He admitted me. They ran the test, and they said, yeah, seizures. They did the EKG or EEG rather, and that's what they found, what they said it was. But then when I presented these papers to the neurologist, oh no, you don't have seizures, and even though the paper was saying this is seizure-like activity, they dismissed it, And, I mean, so these are signs I've had my whole life, and I keep getting these doctors, and I've heard this over and over again from people who have these invisible illnesses. They get the same thing, I don't know whether these doctors are not getting paid like they used to, or what the hell they're teaching them in medical school, but these guys are not getting the training they need. Somebody needs to complain about this, because they're not teaching them this stuff. And I understand 9 times out of 10 it is a horse. I get that. But there are zebras. There are things that are not medically normal. You know, and that's when you have to do the hunting and the digging. But they get lazy and they don't want to do the digging because it's much easier to write it off as us being psychotic. You know, and they get paid more for that shit too. That way they get more pharmaceutical drugs shoved down your throat. You know, but I'm sorry I'm on a rant tonight because I'm like, I'm exhausted. I don't even know where I have the energy to make these videos because I'm just downright exhausted. You know? I was fine before I went there. I get there and you know, after I seen him, I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm tired of dealing with these doctors. Like I said, he's got a great personality as far as that goes. He's laughing and a good jolly old fella, you know, but then you start listening to him and he has no clue what the hell. I was like, so, you know, I asked him straight out. I said, well, you know, I'm trying to figure out what exactly mixed connective tissue disease means. Because, you know, I read it's an overlap, you know, with lupus, scleroderma. Oh, no, this guy in Texas, you know, he did this, and that's what it means, you know. And I'm not going to look for scleroderma, even though I've had fibrosis of the lungs, so obviously my lungs are affected, my heart's affected, but we're not going to look for scleroderma. I'm going to ask my doctor, my primary, if they're able to run those tests, because it seems to me anybody could run them. I don't see why it would have to be a rheumatologist. You know, normal doctors should be able to run those tests. It's blood work, for crying out loud. How difficult can it be? I mean, they send you to the pharmacist or the labs to do them anyway. So obviously, labs can perform these tests. You know. So I'm going to ask my doctor in January. I see her January 29th. I'm going to say, you know, are you able to run these tests? Why am I being sent to a rheumatologist when you guys can run these tests? Makes no sense to me. I'm coming up on 8 minutes again. Hold on.